Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Why We Are Over It. I'm Dr. Jennifer Morgan from Centrality Wellness in Connecticut. And Why We Are Over It is just a really great connection of Kelly and myself with other cash-based physical therapists to shed light on how cash-based care gives freedom to not only providers, but also to clients. So as I said, I'm Jennifer Morgan and my co-host is Kelly Weisner. I'm gonna throw it over to her.
Hey, I am Dr. Kelly with Flourish Columbus out of Indiana. And tonight we have a really awesome therapist who I was lucky enough to get to learn a little bit from her in one of my pelvic floor courses. So it's very exciting that we're talking to Kenael, but I'm going to let her do her introduction, give you guys kind of the scoop on her background. But this is Dr. Kenael of Lotus Physical Therapy and Wellness, and tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got there.
Yeah, so my name is Dr. Kenael Segal. I am the owner of Lotus Physical Therapy and Wellness in New Jersey, and we specialize in working with men and women with pelvic floor dysfunction. Primarily, though, I would say that I see mostly women postpartum for a variety of reasons, but usually it's the majority of people that we see is postpartum, early postpartum.
Awesome.
Cool.
So what kind of led you to the cash-based physical therapy world?
So I knew it was something that I wanted to do pretty much early on. This is a second career for me. I was a middle school and high school science teacher, and I was approaching that time when teachers burn out, and I knew I was getting there, so I knew it was time for me to move on. And when I started school, I knew that I would have my own practice one day. I didn't initially think it would be cash-based. It wasn't until maybe like year 2, when I was a student, when I was looking up other pelvic floor PTs, there just wasn't much out there. But I found Tracy Scher's website and saw that she was cash-based, and that's when I was like, oh wait, this is a thing. So I think from there was when I realized, like, oh, I can be cash-based. I don't have to accept insurance. So I knew I would have my own practice. I just didn't realize cash-based was an option. But I pretty much made the decision once I found out about her that I'm also going to be cash-based, because I just wanted more flexibility, really.
Totally. And you knew that you wanted to go into like pelvic health as a student, which is super interesting. How did you stumble across that specialty niche while you were in school?
Well, when I started school, I had a 4-month-old already. So I was early postpartum and crazy, but I was early postpartum, and I had my own pelvic issues during pregnancy. I just didn't realize it. And then it was a year postpartum, when things that I had going on just weren't getting better. And the doctor was like, oh, give yourself time to heal. And I'm like, but it's been a year. So, and it was actually another professor of mine was like, you need a women's health PT. And I was like, you really think I need a specialist? And she was like, oh yeah, honey, go. And within like a month, everything that I had, like all the issues that I had diastasis, I had leaking, I had back pain, all of it was gone within a month. And I knew right then and there that this is what I wanted to do. It was something that I considered, but that really sealed the deal for me. I was like, this is definitely what I want to do. So I knew I wanted to do pelvic health. And then once I found Tracy Scher's, I knew, like, I'm going to have my own practice, and that it's going to be cash-based. Everyone thought I was crazy, but here I am.
That is awesome.
Killing it. So did you reach out to Tracy at all? Like, did you pick her brain when you were like starting out, or were you like, I'm just diving in and doing it?
So initially I didn't plan on diving in right away. My goal was my hope was to get a job with one of the local PTs in the area and gain some experience, because I didn't actually have a rotation. I was supposed to have a rotation as a student, and it didn't work out. So I was like, well, I need a job. I don't want to do anything else. I just wanted to do pelvic floor. I don't want to learn anything else. Like, this is my second career. I don't have time for this. And also when I graduated, I also at that time had my second kid. So I had 2 kids. This is my second career. I had no time to do anything. So I was like, I need a job in pelvic floor. And it was really hard to find work. The PTs around here were really, really small, and they weren't hiring. And then I thought, well, maybe I can work for a regular orthopedic practice and build up their pelvic floor PT program. And once I saw what the offers were, like what, the going rate was for a new grad PT, and I was like, I'm sorry, but I left teaching with a bachelor's degree for the same or less that they were offering me with my doctorate in PT. So I was like, no thanks. So then I realized, like, why would I put all this time and effort into building up someone else's program for less or the same money as I was making as a teacher when I can just do it on my own? So I pretty much just read every article I could find on pelvic floor PT to learn as best as I could, because I didn't have a mentor, I didn't have, a residency or anything like that. So I just did a lot of reading and a lot of learning on my own. And I figured, well, if I'm going to do this, then of course it's going to be cash based, and of course it's going to be pelvic health. So
that is amazing. That is like, I can't even imagine having 2 kids, going through PT school. You are superwoman.
I know. I'm literally shocked. It's awesome. It's like,
that is awesome. Oh my gosh. Okay. So we ask pretty much all of our guests about super bills, and if people ask for them, if people use them, if that's a thing where you are in New Jersey, and just kind of how you deal with that and how popular it is. So
I do give super bills. Most patients, I shouldn't say even most, some patients do ask for it, but because I expect everyone to ask for it, I give it to everyone. They don't need to ask for it. It's just something that I provide to all of my patients after services. So yeah, it's a thing in New Jersey. It's something that I give for all my patients, really, just for ease, because I don't, I've heard horror stories where someone said, like, oh, I had a patient a few years ago and now they want her super bill, and I'm like, well, yeah, I don't want to I don't want to deal with that. So I just give it to everyone, and there's no questions or concerns or anything after that, because they have access to it. Sometimes because of the system that I use, it expires, and they may say, oh, a few months later, like, oh, I'm trying to print it and it expired, can I have it again? And it's just a simple click and they have it again.
Nice.
That's amazing.
Nice.
Do you do more like marketing to clients or patients? Like, is it more direct marketing, word of mouth? Like, how have people learned about you and found you?
So it started off just word of mouth, really. It was a lot of word of mouth. Now I'd say I have just as many patients finding me through Google, just like a Google search for pelvic floor PT in the area, and I pop up and they're like, oh, you were the closest, or something like that. I have every once in a while, and it surprises me, where someone will call or someone will come in and they're like, oh, my doctor sent me, and I'm like, who's your doctor? And they'll like mention a name, and I'm just like, I don't even know who that is. But great. I'm happy that they sent you and that they see the benefit of pelvic floor PT, because I tried to market to doctors, give them a call, try to meet with them to let them know who I am, send them letters and emails. It doesn't go anywhere. They want me to buy lunch for their staff, and I'm like, nope, not having that. And like, I need to buy lunch for my children, not for your staff who are growing up. So didn't do that. Or I would send an email and not get a response, or call and leave a message and no one ever calls me back. So I stopped doing that. I don't even try anymore. I will have patients, when they come, and if it's a new doctor that I don't know, and I'm like, oh, that's a doctor I would like to know, like them to know what I do, then, I'll write a nice little letter when I send a fax or something, but I don't hear anything. It's not like they get back to me and say, oh, hey, can you send me some cards or anything? That never happens. So I market, my efforts are best put towards marketing to the clients and patients directly, because then, they go back and tell their doctors, oh, I'm in pelvic floor PT, or they'll be like, oh, I noticed this is so much more improved. What have you been doing? Like, oh, I'm in pelvic floor PT. And I'm like, great, who are you seeing?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So cash PT, is that a thing in your area, or is it, are people like, what is that? How does that work? Compared to like the traditional insurance model?
So people are aware of what that is, because the area that I live in is very, I don't even know what the alternative, right? The area that I live in is very alternative. So there's a lot of acupuncturists and craniosacral therapists and chiropractors and herbalists and naturopaths. Like, there's just so many different types of providers, and a lot of them are cash based. So patients are well aware of what cash based is. So I don't usually have to, give them the talk about why it's beneficial. They understand it. And the other pelvic floor PTs in the area, most of us are cash based. Some of them will do the billing for the patient even though they're out of network. Some of them will do that, but patients are used to it. When I explain to them, like, I'm cashed, I'm not billing for you, you're just getting a super bill. If you want to come. If you don't want to be bothered, here's a list of 3 other people. Go pick and choose.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really nice. It sounds to me like your buy-in is already there. You don't really have to do a lot of like the buy-in front, which we've kind of found that it's regional, right? Like there are some areas like your area that are like super alternative, like Phoenix is the same. California is like the same, but like Connecticut and, some like Midwest.
The Midwest.
So it's really interesting to hear that. And it's actually super cool that you have that kind of buy-in and people get it.
Yeah, I would definitely struggle if I had to, actually market more and convince people and have this whole thing written out. Here's what I'm going to say and how I say it. Like, I thought that I had to do that initially. And now I'm just like, okay, if you want to come, you come. If you don't, you don't have to. The hospital is, 30 minutes away. And if you can get an appointment, go ahead. Like, I'm not going to deter people and say, oh, but wait, like, I'm not. I'm like, I don't have time for that. I have 3 kids now. So like, I'm just busy. Like, I just don't want to, and I don't like to be pushy either. I really don't like to be pushy, because I don't like pushy, salesy type marketing. It's just not my thing. And I don't want to deter someone by giving them, my sales pitch. Like, I feel like where I am, I don't need to do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
I find a lot of people find me on Instagram, which is super interesting, because Instagram, I just like post like about my life and about like what pelvic health is. I also have been through my own pelvic health, regime, because I had my own issues. And it's interesting that people are like, oh, hey, I'm in your area, or, oh, hey, can you help me find someone? Like, do you get a lot of those messages too? Like, I'm in Jersey, can I come see you?
I do get random messages lately. Like, I would say I'm very new to Instagram. So I've recently just started getting a ton of messages and stuff. I would normally get a bunch of like Facebook stuff, because I'm in all the local mommy groups and people refer me. They're like, oh, I heard that you're the pelvic floor PT to go to, and I see that you're in this group, and or whatever. And, it's exciting for them. But I have been getting some messages too, like, oh, hey, can you help me find someone in my area? Or I haven't gotten a lot of people like, oh, I'm in Jersey, I'm going to come see you. Not from Instagram, I will say. I've gotten a ton of people from other countries like India and Africa and different places in the US. And they're like, can I do virtual with you? And I'm like, sure, if you really want to.
Yeah.
So it's been pretty interesting.
Yeah, the internet is an interesting place.
Yes,
for sure.
So you said moms are a big thing, like you're a big population for you. What about Medicare? Like, do you have any people who are typically on Medicare and they contact you and you're like, I don't see Medicare, or do the living in the gray?
I have had one who was Medicare, but I think she had some other stuff too. I think she also had like a private plan, so she was bouncing back and forth between like when to use it and when not. But anyway, I did see her for a while, but I don't, now when someone calls and they say that they have Medicare or even Medicaid, I'm like, I don't know what to do with you. I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm like, we can do wellness. We can do a lot of wellness, and because I offer Pilates now, and I have a couple yoga instructors that I work with, and I'm like, well, we can do Pilates and yoga if you really want to do more wellness type stuff. Otherwise, I'm not really sure how to even handle them. I know there's a way to do it, but I just haven't taken the time to figure out what to do and how to do it. And it's probably really simple. And once I do it, I'm going to be like, oh my goodness, I wish I had done this like 3 years ago. But yeah. Do you guys know anything about Medicare?
Oh man.
Only that it's very gray, and it's the wellness piece that we can do cash based, but I don't know. I haven't spent a lot of time looking into it just because my practice is relatively new. So we've just been focusing on other patient populations. So
I figured once I'm settled in, I could probably figure it out at some point.
Yeah, I have tried to consume all of like Jared Carter's information. He seems to be really good about differentiating. When I was in Phoenix, I actually had my own cash-based solo clinic, and I was only doing like Baral Institute work, really. So like visceral neural, which is like completely not covered under Medicare, so I didn't have to worry about it. Now that I'm also treating pelvic here in Connecticut, I haven't really had to broach that yet. No one's really been like, oh, I have Medicare, and and I haven't had that issue. But it's great. It's so great. And people that we talk to, they're like, well, I mean, like, really, what is wellness, right? If they're not like confined to bed, but what is wellness? Couldn't you say that, like,
right? Right. Yeah.
It's great.
Who knows?
Oh my God. No, it's such a great area. I do need to like dive into Jared's stuff. It's on my list of many things to do, like look into Medicare and even Medicaid. Like Medicaid is another thing too. Like I have no clue. And I would say I get more patients calling me about Medicaid than Medicare. And I'm like, I don't know. And I don't know what resources there are even for that, but I think I give them the same thing, like we can do wellness and see how it goes. But lately I have actually been thinking that I might continue, like I might actually see patients who have Medicaid and start some, because I started a podcast too, and I was thinking of using funds from there to create like a pool, so that if I had patients who really couldn't afford PT, then I could say, you know what, it's no big deal, come, we'll figure it out, and then just draw from that pool and pretty much pay for their therapy, just as a way to like give back to the community.
That is awesome. That is amazing. That is such
I need to like sit down with it and really think it through. But that was one thing that I thought of, like, I might go that route because I want to be able to help people. It's not, I'm not cash based because I want to be a millionaire. Like, I'm not going to be a millionaire. It's just me. I'm doing it because it gives me more flexibility. Like, I have student loans to pay off, so I need to pay them off quicker. I have children to feed, and I like my flexibility. I don't like to be told what to do, hence why I love teaching, and now I'm a PT and I have my own practice. I want to do my own thing.
Yeah, I love that.
I think you're the first person that has even like touched on pro bono type
Mhm.
of.
Yeah. Well, isn't it part of it's part of our license? I mean, maybe it's just in New Jersey, but I remember when we were in school, they were like, that's part of your license, pro bono work, like lawyers do. But I've yet to meet a PT who's like, oh yeah, I do free PT on Saturdays. Like I've never heard anyone do that. You know, it's the once in a while, like, oh, we set up a tent at a marathon and we iced people and put kinesio tape on them, like stuff like that. But I've never heard of anything beyond that, and I just don't have time for that either. So, but I'd rather give back to my community who actually needs it versus just like, here's some ice, put it on your ankle, how to run or something, which is fine, but it's just not my thing.
The only time I heard of pro bono was actually my alma mater just opened a clinic on our campus in Arizona. And they have PTs, OTs, dentistry, all the students come with alumni. So you get to sign up and you can do pro bono work. And women's health is one of the sub niches of
oh, that's
awesome. Awesome.
It's cool. But that was the only time until this moment. So girl, you're forging a path. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, my school did that too. They have a clinic and it was student run, but no, I remember one time a former student came back, but it wasn't a thing where us as already PTs come back and work in the clinic. And I think we should. I think we should all be able to offer something like that. But I think, that will only happen when some of us have more flexibility, being cash based, we might have, better advantage to be able to do that versus someone who's insurance and they're just busting their butt trying to make money.
To survive.
Just to survive.
Yeah.
Although I think all of us are trying to bust our butt right now, trying to survive during, pandemic.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. So we always ask, what is your clinical pearl for either clinicians or for clients who are seeking out physical therapy? What is the little nugget of wisdom in the cash-based world that you would give to someone?
A PT or a patient?
Either or both.
Yeah.
So for PT, so I'll start with PT. So for PT, I would say just don't be afraid. Just do what you want to do, really. I'm here because I do what I want. I always joke with my husband, I do what I want, but I do. I knew I wanted to do this early on, and this was a goal of mine, and it was just, what do I need to do in order to get there? And I just did everything. I'm not there yet. It's always a process. It's always a journey. You're never really 100% there. There's always somewhere else. There's always something else to work towards. But whatever you want to do, do it. If it's unconventional, do it. I would even say that PT is changing. Cash-based wasn't a thing. It probably was, but not so many PTs were doing it as there are now. That was really unconventional. It still is to a lot of PTs. And if PT for you doesn't look like what PT looks like today, and that's what you want to do, go for it. I'm moving towards more of a wellness model right now. It doesn't look exactly like PT, but it hopefully it will work. And for the patient, I will say that the cash-based PT, not always, but the cash-based PT, I think just works harder, maybe because I'm biased. They're more attentive to you because you're paying for a service, right? So you're gonna get higher quality than if here's my insurance card, just bill it through my insurance, and you see the PT for 10, 15 minutes. It's it's not as nice. Sorry for the crying, baby.
Totally fine. Yeah. It is a different vibe when you invest in your health, right? It's a totally different thought process. And I don't want to say I look at clients differently, but I have a little more breathing room and I feel less rushed. So sometimes I'll actually catch something maybe
Yeah.
on the first visit that maybe historically
Yeah.
I would have caught on the 5th visit because I had to look at so many things in this much time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you paid for something versus it was given to you. Don't you take better care of it when you have to take money out of your own pocket and hand it to someone? You know, when you have to pay for therapy, I think patients put more effort into getting better too. I always tell my patients, this is a partnership. I'm not doing anything to you. We are working together to get you to your end goal. So I think they have more buy-in because they realize like, oh, it's not just the PT doing stuff to me. Sorry, the baby plugged out the light. It's not just the PT doing stuff to me. It's me. I'm, taking care of myself as well.
Yeah.
That's all right. My son
I thought we lost power. I was like, oh my God, we lost power again. We lose power quite a bit.
So how do people find you? Let's see. Instagram, podcast, website. So if they want to go deep dive on you, what would that look like?
So Instagram, I'm at Lotus Pelvic PT. Facebook, I'm at Lotus PT and Wellness. Podcast is The Kegel Room. It's on iTunes. It's on Google. It's on Spotify and Anchor. And what else? Website is lotuspt.com.
I love that. Awesome. Quick preview. What's the podcast? What is the premises of the podcast? What are you up to?
It's really interesting. I'm having so much fun with it. So it's a podcast for women or anyone who identifies as a woman of color. So Black, brown, anything, any other color, really. Because, healthcare is just so, it's like a stigma, really. There's a lot of mistrust in the community, in the medical community. So my goal is to help to rebuild trust, mostly by just sharing information. Here's a bunch of stuff you should know about your own body. And it's all around pelvic health. So we talk about anything pelvic related. And because, as you already know, stress plays such a big role in pelvic health. So we talk a lot about self-care and mental health and stuff too. So
that is
really
so
interesting. Awesome. Yeah, everyone that I interview is a professional. So, it's mostly PTs, but they're doulas and midwives and therapists, just a lot of different really nice people.
That's awesome.
That's super cool. We will link all of that stuff in the comments when this airs. So we'll have the podcast and all that fun stuff for people to go check it out because that sounds amazing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you at home for joining us on another episode of Why We're Over It. We hope you found that this was helpful in your journey as a cash-based therapist or a cash-based client. So we'll see you next time. Have a good one.
Yay.